everyone, thanks for tuning in to my channel, Everything Tasha, where we explore everything unique. So in this video, as you know, I'm going to be making homemade macaroni cheese bake, Southern style, the way your grandma used to make it. Here I did a pound of noodles, so that's 1 box of noodles, and you want to cook them al dente. You do not want to overcook them, and you definitely don't want to rinse them. You want them to carry the starch. It is a process that helps hold the mac and cheese together. As you can see, I highlighted that I am using Kerry Irish butter. This is a very seasoned fat butter, and it's very, very required for this type of macaroni and cheese bake. I wouldn't recommend using any other butter. The recipe definitely calls for the curry butter. You can melt the butter through your noodles. I'm not doing that here. I just had that set there to let you know. So these are the cheeses we're going to be using. Everything will be listed in the description box below, but I want to highlight we're going to be using a lot of different cheeses for this recipe. So here I'm getting ready to just start cutting the rest of the cheese. We're using 8 ounces of each cheese. So right now I'm going ahead and cutting up the Monterey Jack cheese. This is a very expensive recipe. It's not something that I make often. But you definitely don't want to cut corners with the type of cheeses or the brands that you're accustomed to using. I didn't go all out. As you can see, I did use Giant Eagle brand, but you definitely don't want to go into a place like Aldi or Save a Lot and try to compensate for the price of cost of cheese to make this. This is definitely something you don't want to cut cost on to that magnitude if you want a great tasting mac and cheese bake. So here I just have everything lined up that we're going to be using. You want everything laid out nice and neat. You don't have to grade everything. You know, you can block it or just buy it already shredded. If you want to go all out, your arm is already going to be hurting, as you will see further in this video once we start making the roux sauce. But you definitely, you know, want to try to ease up some of the hard labor that's going to go into making this. So here we're going to start our roux sauce. You want 1 stick of butter, the Kerry Irish butter. And then you're going to want all-purpose flour, and I put just a hint here, as you can see, a half a cup of arrowroot. It kind of thickens and spreads out the ingredients. So you're going to just continuously stir this. I didn't use the full stick of butter starting off. I'm kind of playing around with it. I don't really go for exact precise measurements. It's kind of like if you're used to making this with your mom, your grandma, whoever, your auntie, you definitely kind of gotta play it by ear. So I'm just stirring, and I am gonna add the remaining butter. I just don't want that flour taste, so I'm kind of like splitting it. As you can see, we're gonna go ahead and add our 1.5 cups of whole milk. You definitely want to use whole milk because it has the fat in it that is required for this type of macaroni and cheese. And you're going to continuously stir. And it just starts to thicken up a little bit. Now we're going to add our 1 cups of half and half milk, or just half and half. But if you can't afford half and half and you just, don't have it handy, you can stick with the whole milk, but it has to be whole milk. So now we're going to go ahead and start adding our cheeses. Like I stated earlier, everything's 8 ounces. You're going to be using the 8 ounce of the Monterey. You're going to be using the 8 ounce of Sharp Cheddar, white cheddar, and Philadelphia cream cheese. And you would thank me later because a lot of people don't know to put in Philadelphia cream cheese, but you definitely want to make sure you have the 8 ounce of cream cheese. And I'm actually also adding 6 ounces of Velveeta to compensate for the white cheddar. But you can do either or if you can get a hold of it. That's totally up to you. As you can see, I'm cooking other things too as well. This was one of our feast days, so it's our Shabbat, and I typically cook everything prior, but for this particular meal, I wanted to shoot the video, so I did everything after sundown. Here I'm applying the 3 large eggs to the macaroni noodles. You don't want to add this to the cheese sauce. I know most people do that, but you don't want to do that. You want the egg to hold the noodles together. So you want to make sure the egg is all through and basted and coated on every single noodle. So you got to get in there and get it going. You can use a spoon, but my grandma didn't do it. My mama didn't do it. None of my aunties who can cook did it. So keep it clean. Make sure your hands and stuff is washed. I shouldn't have to tell you that, but then again, we're in a pandemic. So here we have the butter melted already through it, along with the coating of the egg all over the noodles. Again, you can add a pinch of salt if you didn't already do so when you were boiling the noodles. So here I have another secret ingredient, and this is sour cream. You only need a 1/2 cup of sour cream just to add some tang to the actual flavor. Only a 1/2 cup though. Don't go crazy on the sour cream. You don't want to ruin the mixture. I know a lot of people's like, this is extremely thick. It's supposed to, depending on how you like your macaroni and cheese, but this is how you do Southern mac and cheese, and this is the only way that I am accustomed to doing homemade baked cheese. So I'm adding my seasoning right now, and this is discretional because a lot of people use different flavors, but I'm adding a teaspoon of black pepper, a 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, 1 teaspoon of paprika, and a teaspoon of Creole seasoning or Cajun seasoning, which is that's my go-to. Cajun, Creole, I'm all for it. But again, you can choose any type of seasoning to your required taste. This is just the recipe that I'm accustomed to using. You also, if you want to get froggy, you can add 2.5 cups of condensed milk to give it a little sweet taste. I didn't do that in this particular video, but that's just a little extra. You want to continuously stir. Definitely keep at this because you don't want the cheese to burn. It has very minimum liquid in it, so you definitely want to continuously stir. It's gonna hurt, it's labor, but it's all worth it. It's a workout. Okay, so now we're gonna get ready and layer the cheese. It should be thick because I don't like runny mac and cheese. I don't care how good it tastes. I just would prefer a stiffness in between. And this is definitely how it should turn out. If it's running out all smooth like Velveeta, you did it wrong. You can even see the flavor all throughout the cheese. And you don't have to pour it in at once. You didn't see it in the video, but you know, I gradually stir, pour until I emptied the pot. So you want to mix everything around, make sure everything is coated nice and good. No egg is just stuck anywhere. You want everything mixed correctly. I'm cooking multiple things, so I'm not as neat as I would want to be or usually be doing this, but make sure you have all the cheese off the edges of your pan, because when this goes in the oven, you don't want any burnt spots on the side. You just want a little hint of browning. So now at the top layer, you're gonna add 1 bag of Sharp Cheddar. So you had the Sharp Cheddar in the cheese sauce mixture, but now you're gonna add it to the top. Don't go crazy and add a bunch of different amounts, because there is such thing as too much cheese for mac and cheese, believe it or not. You just want this a light dark yellow base at the top. You don't need a whole bunch. So 1 8-ounce bag should suffice. And you just want to spread it all around and make sure it's evenly coated. Also too, I would like to add, while making the cheese sauce, if you can't get it to that consistency that you've seen, you can always add a little more whole milk, like another cup or so, but it should be thick. I know most people aren't accustomed to making a thicker sauce, but for a Southern mac and cheese bake, you definitely want it thick, where you are getting that workout. So here I'm just taking a half stick of butter. I cut them into small cubes, and I'm just placing it all throughout the top base of the dish, so that way it melts all the way through, all throughout the top layer. You're gonna be baking this at 350 degrees for at least 30 to 40 minutes. I don't like mine too brown on top. I want it just perfectly melted on top. As long as the middle part is done, that's all that matters to me. Because again, we're going for a more stiff, like lasagna almost style, because you're gonna leave it out for at least 10 to 15 minutes too. So you're gonna cover everything up, and then at some point, once it gets closer to being done, you're probably gonna wanna remove the actual aluminum foil, so that way the cheese can get that light, brown to it. And voila, everyone, here it is. Nice. Again, you want to sit this out so it can stiff a little bit, just like you would the lasagna. I don't even think we did that, as you're going to see. We were tasting all through this mac and cheese at this point. We were so hungry. This is our Shabbat, so I had to do all this like pronto. I'm gonna do just a little quick run through of what I made here. I had some candy yams. We don't have all that marshmallow and all that in there because, again, we don't eat pork. I did some collards and I added some tomatoes to it. Didn't have time to do the turkey pork or anything, or turkey leg, but you know. Mashed potatoes. I did some gravy sauce, some stuffing. Got the cranberry popping. You know how we do it, but look at that mac and cheese. And if you want it browner, you could leave it in a little longer and turn the oven off. And we didn't let it sit the full 10 minutes, but it's still thick. It's not runny, you know what I mean? It's still heavy. And I'm gonna show you here. Look at that. Nice. Very cheesy, but the consistency is perfect. I wish you guys could have tasted it. It was so good. Some people like it runny, that's fine. Some people like it extremely stiff, but I like it in between. It has to be creamy, but I don't want it runny. As you can see, and we smashed. We had a great dinner that day. It was a lot to film this video while trying to do this hard task. It takes patience if you want to do it right. Look at that. As you can see, we were tasting. All the moms out there know how it be when you're cooking, and when you're cooking hungry and late. Although we eat throughout the day on Shabbat, it's like this is real food. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Try the recipe if you haven't tried it. If you got one better, share it. Share it in the comments. Share some stories. Till next video. Deuces.